Awaken to your truth that you are the I Am presence in harmony with the divine. You are consciousness beyond what the body and mind identify. This is Moment to Moment. Host Lynda Hope will remind and enlighten you to know your divine nature. You were born into the body already aware, but forgot it as you expanded your sense of identity, ego mind, pattern behaviors, and habits. Stop sleepwalking and wake up to your timeless, eternal, formless self. Now, your host of Moment to Moment, Lynda Hope.
Welcome, namaste, and happy now. Yeah, that's the only place you can really be happy is in the now. So if you've been following me for a little bit, you're understanding a little bit that this now moment, how precious, how valuable, how perfect it is. And I can't say it enough because we forget so much. Every time we go to sleep and we wake up, it seems like we have amnesia, and we have to remember again. We have to remember again that when we look ourselves in the mirror, it's just an image. It's not really who you are. It's not the essence of your divine nature. It's just a facade. It's an illusion. We are here to wake you up, to breathe into the essence of who you are in this moment, in this present moment. And I'm so excited to bring my special guest in on this beautiful moment of realization, all the way from Hawaii. My good friend that I've known for years now. I'm so grateful to have his presence here, and you will enjoy and be enlightened by Stephen, whose name is Sridharanda, which means prosperity. He brings abundance and prosperity on all levels. He is a spiritual, psychological, emotional coach, and his guidance. He's a best friend, aka Swami Steve. That's his name, Swami Steve. You can also call him Stephen. I'm sure he won't mind. And his mission, his dharma, is to be a teacher of God, to be a way shower and assist all those willing and choosing, and those few that have a calling and a true desire to awaken from a dream and to be self-actualized. Stephen, as the enlightened one, knows that the separation has never occurred, and his objective is to assist ones wanting to move beyond duality into the singularity of the one. He is a teacher, a speaker, and a successful business entrepreneur. So at this moment, we are bringing our beautiful Swami Steve into the room. Let me do it again. Here I am. That moment, my finger got a little bit twitchy on the little receiver. So how are you today?
Awesome. Moment? Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you, Lynda. You know how much I love you. And the first moment we met, we had an instant connection, which has only grown deeper and deeper. And I want to thank you for being who you are, because what you do is, I've seen you grow and enlighten and evolve to the level that you are. I mean, you were always at a huge level, but what you're doing now is, because you have no choice on a higher level, you're teaching and showing such amazement and bringing so much to so many people. So I'm so grateful for you. So thank you.
Thank you. And you are a reflection of that. So what we say is we're the only one here, right?
Yes, indeed.
Yes. Thank you. And so you are 5 hours earlier, or is it 4 because of the time change?
4.
Oh,
Hawaii doesn't change. The rest of the world changes.
Right. Yeah, we all do change though, don't we?
No, actually, this is what it's all about. That which changes is impermanent, as we know. See, what you and I teach is that which never changes.
Right. But people would say, my life is always changing and evolving. And that's what we're going to be talking about, that duality that doesn't really exist.
Yes, indeed. And that's what you teach, moment to moment. So you're such a huge reflection and a huge gift, telling people that from our mainstream thoughts, that's what we believe to be real and true. But that's what we're going to talk about. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And now tell us a little bit about your enlightenment, your journey. Can you please tell our viewers or listeners?
Well, first, what I'm going to do is define what enlightenment or awakenment is.
Perfect.
Because the truth is, we are all enlightened. We've just forgotten it. It's actually awakening from the dream. In other words, it's letting go of the thousands of stories that we all carry with us, the baggage, and knowing who we truly are. There's a part of us deep inside that knows that the separation never occurred. Remember, there's only one mind, one heart, one soul. Enlightenment is knowing who you are, knowing where you're supposed to be, exactly where you are, experiencing exactly what you need. And that this is all the time with no exceptions. If you think for one moment that this is not right, you are in resistance because you're not accepting what is. To be enlightened knows that the separation never occurred.
And you say separation never occurred. A lot of our viewers really won't know that terminology. So can you tell us what that means?
Okay. It's a word we use all the time. We're all one. But I don't think everyone truly understands what that is. So what I'm going to do is give you a guided meditation.
That would be helpful. Thank you.
So close your eyes. Take a couple deep breaths, slow and deep. Let go of everything. And imagine something that's infinite. Beginningless without a beginning. Endless without an end. Know that both your body and earth have a beginning and an end. So they're finite, not infinite. Singular, without opposite. Unity, coming together as one. Being, knowledge or awareness. Bliss, or what's really more than bliss, it's a state of bliss. This means, with most words, there's an opposite. I'm joyful, I'm sad, I'm happy, I'm not. And this is what we call a state of bliss. It's when you're in this state that's a constant. It's like being in the world, not of the world. So no matter what happens, you're in a state of joy or bliss. And in this state, things happen to you. And you just let them pass by because you're in a state of bliss. Now take another deep breath and see if you can integrate this. It's beginningless, endless, singular, unity, being, knowledge or bliss, and awareness. Okay, open your eyes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, what you're pointing to is the essence of the divine nature that we are, which is, I guess we would also say could be consciousness, right? The awareness that we are conscious, the consciousness that sees itself in this present moment. Would you say?
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
Yeah. And within that awareness that everything else is seen through our sense perceptions, we can see through our eyes, but what is the witness of that seeing is the consciousness.
Exactly. And the thing is, it's not actually seeing through your physical eyes. Mm-hmm. It's seeing through your third eye. Because your physical senses are all limited and actually trick us. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. And so if we are witnessing that which is physical, which is form. We're the formless in that, right? Behind that, they say the lens of perception. In the moment, we can look around and see all and not identify as it. I guess that's the key, right?
Exactly. It's the content, not the form. Right. Yeah. Thank you. That's perfect.
And otherwise, most of us believe us to be the form with the name and the role and the content and the mind chatter, right? And so a lot of us on a daily basis just respond from that sense of thought immediately into action without that space. And you so beautifully gave us that opportunity to feel that space by just bringing us into the attention of focus within ourselves, into that place of the infinite in that moment where we could really touch it and experience it for the fullness of it. Which we are so denying ourselves because we're so like running around like chickens all the time without being still. Yeah.
Well, that was really perfectly said. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. So tell me, so you say separation never occurred. We'll go back to that. So, as we've been together on retreats, we were in Hawaii. In fact, you were the one that said, "Hey, come to Hawaii and participate in our retreat." And I was, that was the most amazing opportunity that you were able to share and give that opportunity to me. And in that moment when I heard Sage talking, the words resonated in such a deep place. And I'm just so thankful that it was because of you and Sharon that I had that opportunity to awaken like that. So,
and we can also bring that opportunity to everybody. First of all, that's what you do. And anyone that chooses to do this, they can do this with us individually or collectively. And that's really the goal for all people, whether it's me or you or Sage. It's coming to this place when at a level of a 9 or a 10, that this is what I want more than anything in the world. And then what happens is, as it happens with you and as it happened with me and Sharon, something happens instantaneously, easy and effortlessly, and shows us the way. So yes.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so the separation you're talking about is really, the separation is a mental state of believing ourselves to be this person with this identity that separates us and makes the other, anything else, the other. Like, I'm different than you, and you're different than me, and I'm here and God's over there, and and we separate ourselves out. But when we truly know that we're all one in the place of the infinite, separation has never, in fact, it never occurred. That is really a deep, or they would sometimes say higher understanding of conscious awareness. That would be the ultimate, would you say?
Exactly. It's going away from our mind, because actually our mind and our 5 senses are the biggest trickster. And it's often we say that if I can't see it, I believe it. But the truth is these things trick us and keep us in this place. I mean, that's what the ego does. It wants us to stay in our place, not to lose it. So what we focus on is going beyond our mind, in our brain, and into our heart. Like, that's what the Bhagavad Gita says. The Bhagavad Gita says that the longest journey and the shortest distance is between here and here. So that's really all we have to do, is instead of think through our brain, is feel through our heart.
Yes, beautifully said. And I believe that when people say, well, should I use my heart or my head to find a solution to a problem? I remember when I was young, I would say to my mom, what is the truer thing? I don't know. I'm thinking something, but my heart's saying something else. And my mom would say, always use your heart. Always think with your heart. And I think they even say there is a brain in the heart. Is that what I think Greg Braden said? We actually have a brain in our heart.
Well, that's the truth. The heart, and I can't remember the exact definition, is so much larger, and the Ajna chakra down there is so much larger and so much more important, that thinking through your brain really holds us back. And that's something I'd like to share with you too. I know that many people that I've talked to, one of the first things they do is they ask me that very question: how do I know whether I'm in my heart or my head? So that's something that's asked me a lot. Mm-hmm. And so I'd like to answer that. Well, if you're in your head, if someone asks you a question or you have a thought, and there's anything about that, any question, you're 100% in your head. If you have a but, an and, or what about, or anything, it's always fear-driven. What about this? What about that? It's 100% always in your head. And when you're in your heart, it's like saying, how much do you love yourself for you? And you would say, absolutely. Or when you say, what's my name? You know your name. So when you're in your heart, there's an instantaneous 100% connection with no doubt. And that place, you know, you're always in your heart. So the question is whenever you're having a thought with an attachment or identification or any kind of emotionality, you're always in your head. So the focal point for you and I is, how do we go back into our heart? You know, as Marianne Williams would say, how do you return to love? So that's what it really is. So you can always ask yourself, am I in my heart or am I in my head? And if there's a question, again, you're always in your head.
Beautifully said. I could feel that very deeply. And I think that questioning is, would you say it's resistance and fear, that we're living in that place of, when you say doubt, it's always because we're fearful of something?
100%. Your ego is 100% programmed, 100% fear and resistance. So for us, it's letting go of the fear. See, when they say let go or surrender, what you're doing is you're letting go of the resistance and fear, and you're going back into your heart. You're going back into love. So that's 100%. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that love is really who you are. And then we say that the essence or the divine nature of this is love. So in a deeper place of an understanding that God is love and you are one with God in that place of the eternal. And it's just a knowing that the mind can't comprehend that. It just doesn't understand it because it's all ego based. And the ego doesn't like to be squashed or diminished. So it's going to fight for its territory in that moment and deny you the opportunity, because it's going to say, hey, wait a second, listen to me. You're really not love. You're really not. No, 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 no. It's like a child on the phone with a mother that's on the phone going, hello, and the child takes the attention, right? Wants that attention all the time.
You're 100% right. The ego is 100%, 1,000% focused on continuing itself. So it has 100% purpose, and nothing can stop it except going beyond the mind. And let me show you another way, a couple ways of seeing what enlightenment is like. What I like to do is I like to focus on where to go and how to do it. And to me, let me share something with you. Enlightenment looks like a white cloud or a mist. Now, I use the word superimposing or superimposition to describe it. So I want to show you what it looks like. There's two different ways. Again, we're going to go into a short meditation, because to me, that's how you can integrate things. And to me, it's not thinking with your head. It's all about integrating it. And when you integrate it, you grok it, you say, aha, that's where I am. Mm-hmm. Now, again, take a couple deep breaths, close your eyes. And see yourself surrounded by this infinite white cloud or mist. It's 360 degrees all around you. Now, if you take a rocket ship and go a couple light years into this, all there is this white cloud or mist. Now, this white cloud or mist is singularity. Again, it's beginningless, endless, single. And it has one vibration. That's love. So in this place, there's absolute love in this white. And then all of a sudden comes a thought. Now, a thought has no attachment, no concern, so the thought just floats by. Another thought, and everything is perfect, because remember, who you are is this white cloud. And in this white cloud, there is no body, there is no this, there is no that, because it's a place of singularity. And along comes a thought with an attachment or an emotion. You know, whatever it may be sad. It may be this, it may be that. Maybe about judgment. or comparison or something. And now I put a little dark spot on this thought because it has an attachment. And what it is you're starting to think about it. And whatever you think about grows and gets larger and larger. Another thought comes, and another, and another. And what seems to happen is this dark little speck grows and grows and grows. And suddenly, apparently to the senses, it covers up the white cloud. Of course, we know this is nonsense. It's just self-imposed nonsense. So all we have to do is realize that behind the cloud, there's a sun, a moon. Beyond the cloud, there is what is. And that's the only place to do. So when we can remember, no matter what's coming our way, that beyond our attachment or our obstacle is the light, is this love. Because all that's really real is this love. So I'm just going to give you a few minutes to stay there, a few seconds, to stay there and see if you can feel this white cloud that surrounds you. And that's who you really are, is love. Just stay there and know that's all that's really real, and everything else is superimposed onto what is. Okay, thank you. Slowly open your eyes. Does this resonate with you?
Yes, very much. I could see, it was great imagery. I could see how the mind can cause all kinds of nonsense to happen. And
Exactly.
I like the black speck, and then it got bigger and bigger and bigger. Because actually, if you are self-aware, a lot of people already know this. It's like, what do they call that? A Jack story, where somebody starts the story and then all of a sudden they add all this stuff to it and becomes this huge story. And it's sort of like you're sitting around a table too, right? Telephone, and you're saying one thing and then becomes a different one. It gets larger and larger and larger. We all have experienced that and I remember wondering before this whole thing became obvious to me when I was growing up. I remember when I would feed my story, I would feel my emotions getting more and more intense. And I would notice that in myself. Even then, I think I was self-aware, but I would notice how I was getting more agitated just because of a thought that came into my head. And we all have experienced that, right?
Yes.
So if we are aware that we can create that within ourselves, we can also create the peace within ourselves too.
Right.
We can also say, that's just a thought. I don't need to attach myself to that. But wouldn't you say that the reason why we attach it is because our identity has some kind of important information? It has an attachment to it for whatever reason. It gives it some kind of importance.
It's perfect. I mean, that's what we do. We identify with something else other than who we are. See, if we could identify with which we truly are, that would be our focal point. But we think we're a man, a woman, we're green, we're blue, I'm American, I'm Russian, I'm this, I'm that. And that's what we identify with. And that's the issue. And let me give you another example. Now, this I use with little children, okay? Because it's something, we all think about what we're not. I'm not a body, I'm not this. And sometimes it's not or we're separate, or the separation never occurred. But this is an example of actually telling in the story who we really are. And I think a lot of us have seen Harry Potter or the movie Ghost, or we've seen a movie that when someone takes their last breath, they go, this thing comes out. Okay, let's just imagine that that's the white cloud or mist. And what happens is that as they take their last breath, this inner energy leaves their mouth. This is a perfect example showing that we are not our body. We are this white mist. After the body leaves, where there's energetic vibration, and it returns back to itself, which is all that's really real. So I like to use that to tell people what we really are. Does that resonate?
Yeah. Well, obviously you can't see it. You can sort of visualize it in the third eye. You can say, all right, I can see that as a metaphor for my soul, if you want to say, or my essence that cannot be seen. In a way, I think of God, right?
Exactly. That's what God is. See,
Right.
that's what the white cloud is. That's what God is. That's what Brahman is. And in the movies, you can see it. Okay, but know that it's not really. I use a white cloud. It's really not there. So that's exactly right. We can call this what I use the word superimposed. Another way you can say it, it's the ocean, which when you're in the middle of it seems infinite. We can call that God or source. That's what this white cloud is. It's source, it's light. It's whatever it's just a way to think about an analogy so our mind can wrap around it. And thank you.
Oh, thank you. I love the one analogy that Mooji, because we all love Mooji, Mooji. If you go to Mooji YouTube, you'll see all of his satsangs. But I love the one where he says, the thumb, if it's held up, can cover the sun, right? It just your thumbnail can cover the sun. And if you imagine that, your perception of your world is so easily covered up and obscured and not even, and it's sort of like warped in a way because we, like you say, we superimpose so many of our emotions, our past stories. I mean, we can be involved in a relationship, and I found this very, very true for Lynda's life. I mean, as I see relationships happen, that's why you say you bring your baggage with you. But all of a sudden you're involved in this new relationship, but then something that person says triggers a memory. And all of a sudden you're thrown from this past relationship, this memory of this past relationship is imposing itself on this current relationship, right? And we create now a drama around it that didn't have to be if we were just purely in the moment, just receiving love and receiving and giving love in that moment outside the psychological mind, then we're actually in a pure sense of consciousness that's not tainted or toxified by any past history. And that's gorgeous to think about, right?
This is perfect. This is who you are, Lynda. This is what your thing is. The program is called Moment to Moment. What you're alluding to is when you're in the past, you have these memories of the past, which is gone. It's gone, it's forgotten. So if we could let go of the past, we would live in the moment. And whether it's the drama, the perfectionist, the need to know, all of these things are coming from the past. And that is all ego. It's 100% fear-based. So this is beautiful. This is who you are, and this is what you teach. And they say now that the children are of a different level now. And what I've heard is what they do with their karmic tank, and again, I'm talking on a 3D level, their karmic tank, there's less and less past that they're bringing on. So they're exactly all the things that you say are so true. And I want the audience to appreciate, the message that you're bringing, that as you let go of the past and you're in the moment to moment, this is the here and now, and this is what's beautiful. So thank you.
Yeah.
Bringing up that example. It's perfect.
Thank you. Yeah. And you know that because you practice it. It's even beyond practice. It's just a knowing that that's your state of consciousness. And that when a thought does come up for you, you can recognize it as just another thought and let it go. I think also we have to talk about the future, right? Sometimes we're so projected into the future.
What future?
We think there's a future. We
Okay.
think, right? We think we're going to live in the future. We never do. We always live in the now. It's always now. But the fact that we use this now to regurgitate the past or worry about potentially what might happen in the future is to really disvalue the precious, wonderful opportunity, the magic of this beautiful moment that is a gift. And for us to realize its amazing magnificence in the moment is really the jewel. Is really it's so precious, and that's what we're here to teach, right, Stephen? We're here to really wake us up into that appreciation.
Well, that's 100% true. And going back into what you're talking about, the future, is when I used to have, and still do, have some anxiety. And when I define anxiety, it's about not being able to do everything right now because I'm rushing. I want to do this and so many different things at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And what it does is it causes anxiety, panic, it cause all kinds of multitude of things because I'm trying to live in the future and bring the future now because it's not happening fast enough.
Mm.
So what I've learned to do, and I'm still in the process of this, and I can share this with other people. And as I'm sharing with other people, I'm sharing it with myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because who else is there? You teach what you need to learn.
Right.
So the thing is, and what I do, I take a deep breath. Close your eyes, don't. And I bring the breath down into my heart, and down further. And Sharon and I saw a Buddhist monk, a high-level monk, close to a Dalai Lama yesterday. And that's what he said. He said, take it down past your belly button, your Ajna chakra. Just take it down, your Dantian. Just take it down. So take a deep breath. And be in the present moment. And as you're in that present moment, and what I've learned and discovered, which is just unbelievable to my mind, but I know it to be true, is everything happens easily and effortlessly and synchronistically. So all my efforts are trying to rush and trying to hurry and trying to do all these things because I can't get the future now. When I'm in harmony and equanimity and stillness, that's another key word. And as I'm in this place, everything happens easily and effortlessly and on a much higher level. So thank you for bringing up the future.
Yeah.
A reminder to be in the present moment to moment.
Yes, thank you. And I love that breath work. It is so important when we do go back to our breath because that is the place of stillness and that is beyond the mind. And when we focus on breath, that reminds us, that wakes up our divine connection and says, this is something so essential to my well-being, to my peace, to the place that I feel more alive, the aliveness in my body. And that's what's grounding, right? It grounds us in the place of knowing the truth, and that's stillness. And again, the mind will come in or try to come in because the ego doesn't want to be erased, but we can know that's really not who we are, and we can just allow it to pass and go back into the focused awareness that we are. That is, I guess you would call it practice, but it also becomes more of a knowing and like you said, an ease that eventually the mind chatter will sort of work its way out and be less and less, and it will thin out. And then all you're left with is this place of rest and peace and love.
Perfect. Yeah. That reminds me of something. So thank you. You see, this is what you do with me. I remember when your last one, you talked about meditating for 18 minutes. So I wasn't meditating a lot. So I started meditating again and more. Now it's easier and more effortless. So you remind us of who we are and what we need to do. And what that just reminded me, and I'm so grateful for you. I mean, I love you so much, thank you. And what it is it's the thing, be still and know that you are God. Because in this moment of stillness and quietness, a breath work, which I know that's huge for you, is that's the only thing we ever need to know is who we are. So in the stillness, in the silence, that's where Brahman resides. Yes. So you're never going to become enlightened or awakened from a book, from a person, from this or from that. What it does is it reminds us and it brings us closer. So when we're in silence, we can listen and say, aha, and know who we are. And then what we do is we take it from our head and into our heart, and then we become it. And as we become it, that's what it really is. But it's in that silence. So thank you for reminding me.
Thank you. And I love that phrase, Harfu udu'u ki anochi Elohim. Yeah, that's in Hebrew. Be still and know that I am.
I've heard you say it, and it's so beautiful. You're the most beautiful voice. They say that beyond the mind, all there is light and sound. So sometimes when I think about that, I think about you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, the voice does have this resonance, right? That it's sort of a connection to the energy field, right? Because we are all energy. And then there's the vocal resonance that also carries the vibration higher and higher, if you want to say, in, I guess we'd say the 3D or not. I don't know. I mean, energy is really, is that 3D? No, energy is energy.
Well, yes and no.
Yeah,
The
yes
thing-
and no.
Well,
Right.
everything's a paradox, but that's another topic. So the point is there's only one vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And in that one vibration is where you're going to. If you were to talk about many vibrations, then that's where sometimes disharmony is. And another thing about music, which is, you're so gifted, is music can take anybody from where they are, no matter where they're at, and it reminds me of who they are. So it can take you to a level higher and higher and higher. So music, I remember I'm dating myself, from the Moody Blues,
Mm-hmm.
there was a song called The Lost Chord.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not sure it was the music of the Lost Moody Blues, but to me, it's that one chord, that one vibration that takes you to that one place, as opposed to certain sounds, like, have a higher vibration and a lower vibration. So what you do is you sing from a higher vibration from your heart. And when you go to that chord, it can take you all the way. So thank you for being who you are. So lovely.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate yeah, the vibration, the way, we walk around in life, the way we move our energy. I know that everybody can relate to this. If you walk into a room, let's say, you can feel a person who has a strong pain body. I think Eckhart Tolle talks about the pain body, and you feel their eyes are down, their shoulders are down, they're hunched over. They've got this very heavy kind of energy to them. But when you look at a person who just sort of walks effortlessly, has a nice little bounce in their step, is sort of with a little smile on their face, that there is a lightness to them, and you can sense that they're probably a higher vibration. They're probably obviously in a more of a joyful place, because joy is a higher vibrational frequency. And I know I love the book that David Hawkins wrote, Map of Consciousness. And he talks about our emotions, and he maps them out. And he says, love is at 600 and above. I mean, when we get to 600 to 1,000, it's that's your happy place. And if you're in this anger, the resentment, the self-abuse type of low vibration, it, you can feel it, right? You don't want to be around that kind of, it before you even talk to them. You don't want to be in their presence. It's that kind of energy. Would you say?
Well, something that was a great book.
Yeah.
And, in Power versus Force, also by him, and with the scale and the hierarchy, and people like Einstein, and they only went to a certain level. In order to get to being 1,000, it was more like a Christ or Brahmin level. And what you did too is reminded me, see, everything you're saying reminds me of who I am and something else. So everything is contagious. Mm-hmm. When a person walks into the room and they're grumpy and they're hostile, their energy just goes out there, and it's contagious. It's all contagious. But like I said, we were with a high-level monk, Buddhist monk, over the weekend, and his stillness emanated, pervaded throughout the entire thing. So they say that being in the presence of a holy person, a person like this, without him saying a word, one can be enlightened. So it's about remembering who you are and being still, and your energy, and knowing that it's contagious. So I was going to write a book, which I haven't yet. Excuse me. It's called what was it called? Oh, the rippling effect. Yes. And the rippling effect means from 1 to 2, from 2. So if you teach someone, that's what you're doing, Lynda. You teach someone one thing, and they integrate it. They teach it from one person to another, 2 to 4, 4 to 8. And what it is it all becomes contagious. And this is how the world on the 3D level is going to grow and evolve from the bottom up, not from the top down. So again, it's so important for us to remember who we are and to have this contagious attitude. Another thing, I've said many times, Hawaii, where we live, and where we live, it's so beautiful.
Love
and
it.
What
yes.
people do here, when we're riding down the street, slowly. People are giving this, the chakras, and what they're doing is they're smiling from their heart. It's amazing. They smile from their heart. Strangers, people you don't know, wherever we meet, they become friends instantaneously. And I've said many times that if you took 10 people with the true aloha spirit and took them all over the world, different places, that the world would change because they're so contagious. Because love is the answer. Just like they say, light. When you take light, the darkness goes away. When there's love, true love, like this Buddhist monk, or like you, you bring this light wherever you go. You don't. When you see darkness, you just laugh, and you don't have a part of it, and you shift people into this place. So it's so important to have this energy and this program that you have, because what it is, it's contagious. So thank you. I keep thanking you.
You're very.
See, I love you.
I love you too.
It's not my fault.
It's
just teasing.
Yeah.
There is no fault.
No. And thank you and Sharon for bringing the light and being a force to awaken, because as we're all doing our part to add to, to be, and as we know, we all are one. And so we reflect each other. We don't even have to talk to each other. We know we're in each other's presence. We can feel our sense even from afar, from Chicago to Hawaii. We can feel that we're together. So that's amazing in that knowing. So let me ask you another question. Let's see. So can you share with us the 3 biggest obstacles most people have in common?
Okay. Everything's on 2 different levels. Everything's a paradox. So I'll talk on this level first. Okay. Growing up, I used to think that what I was taught, this is from a 3D level, that the most important things were food, shelter, and clothing. Those are your first, most basic needs. And then I realized, I thought it was true because everything I read when I was young, I believed. Ha ha ha. Most of us don't. And I believe the news. That shows you how naive I was. But, okay, and now I watch it for a few minutes, and I really can't watch it for long. It just reminds me that I can't watch it. I choose. I can't. I choose not to watch it. But before you evolve, you needed these 3 basic things before you could evolve spiritually. But you only have to rise above your beliefs and attachments. That's all that's necessary. For example, it's food. Fasting by many people is considered healthy. So Sure. It's not about the food. Okay, it's not about shelter, because one can live in a tent or a sleeping bag. Or how lovely would it be to live in Hawaii and watch the stars and be a part of that? As far as clothing, it's not about the clothes that you wear. It's not necessary. It's not a component for enlightenment. What is vital is the non-attachment to these things. But going to a different level, I go to a higher level after this, is what I would say are the 3 biggest obstacles or resistance that people have in common. Are money or the lack of it. Health, whether it's someone else's, a loved one, or yourself. How can I be happy when someone's not healthy? Or relationships. Now, there's relationships with your friends, your family, your coworkers, your partners. And the biggest relationship is not with any of these, because this is all living in duality in the ego. The biggest relationship is from beyond the mind. As Christ would say, which is not about Christ, it's about any enlightened person. You must surrender or give up everything to follow me. And it wasn't following him, it was following the Tao, the way. And so what it is, it's about giving up all this and knowing that there's all these things, like we talked before, they're all things that are finite. The only thing you ever have to do is remember who you are. And when you can give up and surrender these things, that's what we need to do. So to me, those are your biggest attachments. But the truth is, these are all things that they are, but we can move past these things. And moving past these things, again, is to remember relationship with yourself, and to go beyond this.
Beautiful. Thanks so much for that. Yes, I'm sure our listeners and our viewers will appreciate that as we continue to point their way back to the consciousness that hears this, that's deeper, if we say deeper or higher, than just the personality with an opinion, with a belief, with a concept, with a title, with a role, the superficiality of the whole thing. I'm just so amazed when people are still stuck on people's titles and people. I remember my grandmother back in the day, she used to think doctors were the be all and end all. Like she wished she had married a doctor, and she kept telling my grandfather, if only I'd married a doctor. He was a salesman. And she wanted my brother to be a doctor. Oh, and he finally became a doctor. Oh my goodness, it was her dream come true. You're a doctor. What does that stand for, right? In that belief system, oh my goodness, you're like God. And we have this, I don't know where we come up with all these crazy beliefs about what that looks like and what we have to achieve in life. Or my father, I have to say, he was very happy that his son was a doctor. And then when I became a cantor, oh, my daughter, the cantor, oh, now he can die happy.
That's funny.
And yet I never went for my ordination to have the title of cantor. I just wanted to learn what it was to be the best in the 3D, of course, in that career, to be a cantor to a level that I felt.
You did what you needed to do because you have this voice. This is what you needed to do. So this was your whether you knew it or not, this is what you had to do, to sing. And the funny thing is that both my brothers are doctors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they were, I say, brung up with the same patterning as this. And I went the opposite direction. See, you and I both had inner callings. Your inner calling was to be a rabbi at first, and then a spiritual person, and then to be a singer. So this is what you had to do. And for me, I didn't have the inner calling to be a doctor. So what I did is I spiraled down the other way. So I was a latent bloomer, but inside we both had this inner drive, which has come out now to be who we are. And you and I have no choice, because that's another thing too. On the level that you are at, you have no choice but to do and be who you are and to teach this.
Yes, and that's very true, that we have this calling to seeking that there's something greater to understand, that it's not just our little me, that little me that wants things and gets overblown with not getting something, or like a little spoiled child, right? And we can see that, and we don't appreciate that. We don't see that as important in our lives anymore. In fact, we can't wait for it just to just goodbye. Enough of this nonsense. And I don't particularly, I see sometimes my ego, of course, coming in, my human side, or my attachment to something, but at least I'm aware of it now. Before I would just identify with it, and then I'd be asleep again. I'd be unconscious in that moment, or I'd do something I would regret. I'd say something maybe, or my actions would reflect it. And I would say, well, that's not right. Right. So we have to wake people up to say, look, if you have a thought and you have an impulse, stop, breathe. Don't immediately go with your impulse, your reaction, your emotions. Step back and have a moment of silence. And then, give it some space and see if it's going to maybe pass on its own. Don't react all of a sudden. Don't think that you are that, just take that moment and say, hey, that's really not me. That is my person wanting to do blah, blah, blah. I am the consciousness watching that, and I can choose not to respond. That's the highest place of awareness that you can be. And then you grow that and expand that, and then you become that, and that's all you are. Would you say?
Yes, and thank you, because what you're doing is reminding me of what I'm to do. You see, so many times when someone talks, because I think I know the answer and I want to share with you, I want to tell the answer, I just give an immediate answer. And now it's taking that moment, instead of reacting instantaneously, it's giving a little space, exactly what you're saying, taking a breath, and what I call channeling, which we all do, whether we know it or not, and listen. And in this listening, it's I respond from my heart. And again, what it is too, it all goes back to what we've said so many times. All these things are obstacles, and this and that, and resistance. And to remember that all the duality, and when you're not in this finite things, it's always to remember to go back to the white cloud, to go back in this place, to go back into that Harry Potter, that thing, and know, which is really invisible, like you said, and to go, and that's who you truly are. I'm not my body. I'm not my thought. I am these things. So these are things, all the things that you're saying are things reminding me of things that, and that's what we do, you and I.
Right.
Because
Remind us. Right.
the truth is, we all know everything. And all you and I do is remind others of who they are. So you remind me of this, and it's wonderful. So thank you.
That's why we have this conversation.
Exactly.
Moment to moment, in the moment. We're flowing this in the moment. We don't have any script in front of us. I mean, there was a couple questions I wanted to ask you, but outside of that, for us to be talking at a high level of consciousness is because we are that, and we want to express it through that form, that formless place, and we recognize the value of it. We want to share the value. We want to share it from the place of that is love, that we are love, and that's all we are. And it's so simple, but it's, as Muji would say, the consciousness is simple, but the person is complex, right? The mind is complex. And the minute we start adding complexity to our situation, we know we're in the mind, and we know we're in our identity.
Simple, but not easy.
Yes, simple but not easy. Exactly. And I think they also say that if you are looking, as the person, to be quiet and to not have any thought, you won't be able to maintain that, because you're going to be working at it. You're going to go into a meditation. I remember doing this when I was starting as a meditation, student, and I would strike that pose, right? And I close my eyes and I'd focus on this white light. I was so proud I could see a white light or a purple light. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so much better than everybody else meditating, because I can see this purple light. And I would say to my teacher, I can see this purple light. And my teacher would go, forget the purple light. Just forget the purple light. It's not about the purple light. And, but we're so funny as people. We think, I think I got it. I think I got it. I think I got it. I'm still. Am I stiller than the person next to me, or whatever? And there's that competitive kind of thing that comes in, and it's so silly when you remember that happened. But it is that kind of self that wants to be the best. Again, that's the ego, wants to be the best meditator or the best this or that. Even as a spiritual teacher, I want to be the best spiritual teacher. I have the more students than anybody else, and that's also another identity. That's another form of an identity, that I'm a spiritual teacher. Or so we have to be very mindful that little ego can slip, as Muji would say, slip behind the consciousness, and now be this, little voice in the head again.
Right. And you're right. On a certain level, purple is a very high level. But there's a couple of things I'd like to the audience to take home with them. Okay, look at someone that you're in resistance with. So everyone pick someone, and if you can't find anyone around you, which is hard to believe, look at yourself. And remember, since there's only one of us here, that you're the one. They're reflecting that which you are. And the thing is, remember, know who you are. So what I want to do, and I've been doing this myself, is so love one another as often as you can, and start with yourself. So this is what it is when you have this resistance with a person, place, or thing. remember it's here for you, not to you or against you. And it's here to teach you a lesson. And it's important for all of us. And when I say this, I'm pointing the finger back to myself, that you are infinite love beyond measure. And another thing I'd like for people to remember, that in the story, there's only one problem and only one solution. The problem is to remember that you believe in separation, that you believe there's a you and me, there's a right and a wrong. We believe in duality, and we believe the five senses to be real. They're finite. The solution is always to remember there's one mind, one heart, one soul. And to remember that absolute love has no opposite, which is always the solution to everything. We have to remember that if we're not in peace, and if we have an issue, more love is needed. Because with love without opposite is always the answer. It's always the answer for everything. And I'm just so grateful for this. So thank you. And these are things that I have to remind myself whenever I'm triggered or in resistance, just to go back into the space and all these things that you say so often, moment to moment, and all these things, and to remember who we are. So this is just a great and wonderful thing.
Well, it's been so great to have this conversation with you. And it's not really you, it's really me, because we're reflecting each other. But to have that flow of consciousness that we know our viewers or listeners will, at a deeper level, resonate with. And even if they don't quite understand it, and this is something you can't give to your mind anyway, because if you give it to your mind, the mind will start questioning it and judging it and comparing it and whatever it does. But to give it to your heart and to sit with it in a place of just stillness and appreciation, and to receive it at the full level that it is given, which is, like you said, all love.
Well, what you're doing and what we're doing is we're actually planting seeds.
Mm-hmm.
And both of us have, I'm sure that they've come up to you years and years later and said, thank you, Lynda, thank you. You know, I'm so grateful. You have no idea what you've done, but you said something to me. You didn't even know you said it, and it changed or altered their life. So
well, that's why I brought you on as well to do that.
Thank you. You're such a blessing. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want people to be able to notify you or to communicate with you if you have any questions for Stephen. So we have his email that we'd like to share with our viewers and listeners. Stephen, so it's hawaiisteve22@gmail.com. So you can reach out, ask for a conversation one-on-one or sharing. You know, you're available, Swami Steve, for those who want to really become more conscious, more alive, more awake, and more a presence in the world that can help others. And your presence in the world has made such an impact, I'm sure, on everyone listening today, and will continue listening to these episodes, you know, at some future date as well. But your presence here is so magical and so meaningful, and I love you so much.
Thank you. And for you and I, there's nothing more than we love, than I can speak for myself, than I love to be of service. Knowing that when people have an issue, one of the gifts that I have is being able to turn the gift around and saying, isn't that great? And turn it around and this is happening for you. What a lucky thing this is. And then to realize this and to rise above the issues. And I know this is what you do so many times, being as a cantor, as a person, and as an enlightened being. So it's one of the gifts that you have we both have that's such a wonderful thing. So it's great.
Yeah. And if anyone wants to reach out to me as well, they can. Lynda@lindahope.com, and love to chat with you as well. I also want to share something, a lot of fun. We have 16 days till Thanksgiving. My producer and I, Jeff Cornett and myself, through our Imagination Plus Productions company, has created a beautiful documentary. And in fact, everybody can participate in possibly winning a domesticated turkey. We want to bring some humor and lightness to the world. So we have this opportunity for you. If you go to www.whatstheproblemwiththanksgiving.com, live. And you too can win a domesticated turkey. It's amazing. You know, we have to just sort of bring some levity into this beautiful world and lighten up, like you said earlier, lighten up, especially during the political season that we are. We have to really work at the lightening up. So let's not take a separation. Let's not look at Republican, Democrat. Let's not look at vaxxed, unvaxxed. Let's look at us all as a reflection of love. That's it, folks. Just that. So again, thank you, Swami Steve, for being here on Moment to Moment. And I can't wait to see you in Hawaii at some point. There's no future, but in the future.
Thank you. Thank Todd. It's
much love. Thank you,
such a
Todd.
gift.
And thank you all for listening. This is Moment to Moment, Lynda Hope on WLTK-DB Talk Radio. See you next week.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.